everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Shay, and today's video is going to be a show and tell. So if you guys have been following my videos recently, I have been posting some videos about sewing, namely more vintage inspired sewing projects. I have been making an effort to try to better my sewing skills while adding some pieces to my wardrobe that are more vintage inspired. I have been far more interested in dressing vintage recently. I've always loved the idea of it, and I have actually tried it in the past, but ended up just not having the right kind of vibe for what I wanted, and so I kind of gave up. But I am back on that train. I am going to be trying to build a more vintage inspired wardrobe completely, and that includes doing some sewing for myself. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all the things that I have sewn so far for my own wardrobe. And some of these things actually have videos that show you how I did that. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to link them above in the card as well as below in the description bar for you guys so that you can also watch those videos and find out how I made them. So the first thing is going to be this skirt. These are in no particular order of how I made them, by the way. They're just kind of together in a pile. So, but you will notice a theme. There's like a pretty There's like a pretty legitimate like color scheme going on here. Like apparently I'm feeling these shades. So anyway, but this is my first skirt that I'm going to show you. This is a wrap style skirt. And this one is fully lined. It came out okay. I hand stitched this. I don't like the way that the buttonholes came out. They are kind of messy. I used a white liner, and you could kind of see the white liner through where the buttonholes are. Not my favorite. I also did a little blind stitch, but it's pretty noticeable, the fabric, the way that it kind of pulled a little bit, and you can kind of see it. But overall, not a bad looking skirt. I actually used an existing skirt that I had to make this pattern, and I do have a link for this skirt in a different color that I did make for you guys out of a curtain. This happens to be fabric that I had from my stash, but it was really easy to make, and it was not a lot of fabric. It was less than a yard of fabric. So I will link that one for you guys down there. Next happens to be another one that I showed you guys in a video. This is my pair of overalls, and these came out okay. Honestly, they are a little bit crooked for multiple reasons. What happened was I had cloned a pair of overalls that I had already, just the bottom portion, and I didn't account for a little bit of extra seam allowance because I do have larger hips. And what happened was I ended up with like this much. I needed like this much. And so I had to be creative. I ended up inserting an extra panel and making it close in the front like this. But it did end up looking a little bit funky on the body, not as polished as I had wanted, as well as this front bib portion being slightly off center. I can fix that pretty easily though. I believe that it's actually because my front darts ended up slightly off center. And again, I will say that this one came out pretty good considering, but I didn't make a pattern for it. I just cloned the item that I was looking to make. And I think that's why I went wrong. I think I had a little bit of measurement issue there, obviously with the waist, but also in general. And then the back just kind of had these cute little buttons. And it is sort of a wide leg style, kind of like a 1940s, 1930s vibe. So overall, I did like the idea of these, and I would like to do them again in a different color with a more thought out pattern. So, but I will link that video up in the cards for you. Next is another version of that same skirt. I have made 3 of these in different colorways. This one was actually the first one I made, and actually this one came out really good. I love the pattern on this. This happened to be some fabric from my stash. I was going to make a dress out of this fabric, but ended up just using it to make this skirt. So that's what the back looks like. It has the cute little darts. This fits beautifully, and this one does have buttons all the way down the front as well. And these buttonholes were the first buttonhole attempt that I had. If you look closely, they're pretty darn messy. However, because they're pretty much the same color as the fabric, you don't notice them as much. And this one I did not line. I just put a little facing on the inside. But overall, really happy with the style of this one as well as the fit. Sorry if I sound a little weird, by the way. I am having like some serious allergies today. I have like almost no makeup on because it just wasn't worth my time, and I'm pretty stuffy. But anyway, ignore that. This was the actual skirt that I made for the video that I showed you guys. I did make this one out of a curtain. This one came out really adorable. I loved the pattern on this. This one is just really, really cute. I was feeling kind of a Faithful the Brand vibe. So these ones are shorter. Obviously, this is not as historically or period accurate to more vintage stuff because generally vintage clothing, especially skirts, are longer. But because I'm petite, I have a harder time with the longer skirts and stuff. It kind of is hit or miss for me whether or not it looks good. So I do like to go a little shorter, but with still a vintage inspired feel to it. This one by far was better as far as the buttons go. I think that this one came out really, really good. These buttonholes are far more uniform. I kind of got it down to more of a science. This one isn't lined, just the facing, but again, this fabric is really nice. It's kind of like a, almost like a largely woven cotton. Maybe it might even be a linen blend, and then I have the little ruffle at the bottom. And this one I did make a matching top to, which I will also link that video because that's a separate video. I used a pattern, a Simplicity pattern that I purchased at Walmart for this, and honestly I was pretty disappointed with how it came out. I made the size that it told me to make on the back of the package as far as my measurements go, and it was really wonky. It was too big in my band, like my around band size when it was done, and then the way that the seams kind of cut across my bust was not right. It was really, really high up. I ended up changing the shape of it slightly, and honestly, it's too bad because I really wanted a matching piece that I could wear with that skirt, but I am just not really in love with how this fits. I actually did take it in. You can kind of see there. I took it in so that I could photograph it for you guys, hoping that I could make it work. The buttonholes on this one came out pretty good though, and obviously it matches the skirt, but again, not impressed with the pattern. I will link that pattern down below for you guys too if I remember. If you guys are interested, it might just be because I am petite. It might have just been not the greatest fit for me, but either way, that's something I've made. Next is a piece that actually kind of got me started on all of this. I was looking for a pattern to make a sort of a balloon sleeved top. I was originally thinking a 1970s inspired, although since then I have geared myself more towards a 1930s, 1940s vibe, although I really do love 60s and 70s stuff as well. But I think that the 1930s specifically looks better on my body type. But anyway, so this top also was a Simplicity pattern. I will also link this one down below for you guys. I loved this fabric. I got this fabric at Walmart. It was just a regular cotton, and the sleeves on this are darling. But I did have some fit issues. This is a wrap style top, so it kind of goes like this and then the other side wraps over. Either way, I had some issues with it as far as the fit goes because it was actually quite a bit longer. I took it up by, I think, like 2.5 inches on the inside, and it's still too long. So I haven't fixed it yet so that I can wear it, which is my bad. And the stitching isn't fantastic, but the thing that I did have an issue with about this pattern was that there was really very little instruction if you are a beginner sewer on how to put this stuff together. It was very vague. It was not great. I personally didn't have much of an issue with it because I am a knitter. I know how those pattern pieces go together anyway, so I could kind of fumble through it without too much of an issue, especially since my grandmother is a seamstress as well, so I kind of have some background in that. But if you're a beginner sewer, honestly, it's supposed to be like a beginner's pattern, and it was not beginner friendly in my opinion. So, but I am going to fix this so that I can wear it, especially now that it's getting a little cooler. We've had a couple of cool days, and I really am excited to wear this print. I think this print will look really good with a pair of high-waisted jeans for a sort of vintage inspired but not completely vintage vibe. Okay, so this is something completely different. So I have been watching Outlander. I know that I'm probably like really late to that game, and I never got around to watching it, but now I am super inspired by 18th century stuff. So on top of my other vintage things that I now like this era. And I hadn't really done much digging into 18th century dress before, and I really like the way that the bodices are shaped. Specifically, I like the top portions of the dresses, and so I was kind of inspired. I had this piece in my wardrobe that was too small for me, and it was sort of a 18th century inspired corset top. I believe it was from the 90s, but I kind of snuck a pattern off of the bodice portion because it fit me almost exactly, and I figured I could scale it up to fit me. And this is kind of the result. I had this fabric that I had thrifted. It's really cute. It's like this leaf print, and I have fuzzies. I ended up doing all of the eyelets by hand. So actually this entire piece is sewn by hand, and this is what the back looks like. So it's basically just like a little corset vest top. I was thinking it would look really cute over a neutral tone dress or something like that. I haven't figured out how I'm going to style it yet, but hopefully I will be inserting photos for you guys so that you can see at least what they look like on. So I don't have a video for this yet, but I am planning on making one in the near future because I think that this would be really fun to do in like a plaid or something Outlander inspired. Even though this isn't really very like historically accurate, it does have that sort of vibe to it. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe, but I am going to be doing that soon. So this piece isn't really a sew and tell, it's more of a crochet and knit and tell because I also knit and crochet, as I mentioned before on my channel. This one is a knitted sort of vintage inspired sweater. I saw this yarn at my Joann's Fabric and I couldn't leave it there. I am really in love with these orange shades lately, and this was just waiting to be made into the perfect sweater. It is vintage inspired. It is cropped. It definitely looks really cute by itself as like a top if you wanted to wear it more modern with a pair of high-waisted jeans, but this is more or less what I wanted to wear with dresses, especially in the fall, which is coming right up here, and it really came out very good. There are a couple of things that I would change to the pattern. I did draft this pattern myself. I would extend the length of my shoulder seam just a little bit. You'll see in the try-on, it's just a tiny bit short here in the shoulder. I'm gonna make another version of this in a different color where I will then do that, but I thought the fit was okay enough for me to get away with it with this one. But it's really beautiful. I love the feeling of this super soft yarn, and I had these vintage buttons that I had taken off of a top that was no good anymore, so they kind of went really well with this, and I was really excited overall. I make a lot of things out of yarn and end up undoing them because I just am not super excited about the fit, or it doesn't come out quite how I want it, so I just undo it and start again. But in this case, this one came out really good, and I am definitely excited to wear it. Next piece I have to show you guys, I actually am going to be releasing a video. I've already filmed it. I just have to edit it and get it up for you guys. And I had mentioned in one of my other videos that I had some really nice plaid that I had bought in specifically with the intention of making a sort of a prairie style dress. And this happens to be what it looks like. This is my finished product. It needs to be hemmed a little bit shorter. When you guys see that video, you'll see that it's a little tiny bit long for me. So there are some pins in the bottom because I have to hem it. But overall, this came out really good. I used the top for that other top that I showed you, the wrap one that needs to be adjusted. I used that top as the top pattern, and I just made a basic circle skirt for the bottom half. I added a waistband to it, and then I added buttons all the way down. This took forever, and there's some things that I didn't like about how it ended up coming out. It's a little bit too big now that it's on, which is very weird because I'm pretty sure I used exact measurements. I ended up taking up the shoulder a little bit. I took in the sleeves by quite a lot. It was pretty giant looking on me. The sleeves were like this wide across, like off my arm, and it was kind of swallowing me up because I'm only 5'2". But overall, it came out really good, I think, considering it was my first try. And that's what the little buttons look like. I did the little cuffs and everything. So overall, I think it came out good. It just is a little bit different than I was envisioning, but again, I think that I'm going to remake this at some point in a different fabric. I do love this fabric though. Isn't this just gorgeous? I love the colors on this. It's such a pretty plaid. Anyway, so that was what that looked like, and I will show you guys in that upcoming video a little bit more in detail. I will take you guys through. I didn't end up filming the top portion because I originally had a different top that I was going to attach to the skirt, and I hated it. So I didn't end up using that footage, but I am going to show you guys the skirt portion and then how the finished product came out so that you guys can see. But last thing I have is actually a circle skirt. So this is actually a basic circle skirt calculating pattern that I used. Circle skirts are really easy to make. Basically, you just need to know your waist circumference and then how long you want it. And you can pretty much follow that guideline and come out with a really good fitting skirt. So this one, I'm just gonna zip it up here, or button it rather. I ended up buttoning instead of zipping because I have a thing with buttons. If you haven't noticed on my channel, I'm like, everything is buttoned, not zipped. So this is actually also a curtain. This is definitely like a 40s, 50s inspired shape. It ended up being long. So I think I went with 34 inches for this one. And it comes to like just around my calf area. This one I am gonna make short, I think, because I think that it would look better shorter on me. Again, I am only 5'2", so having things that are a little bit longer, it's kind of a hit or miss. But overall, this was really easy. This only took me like an hour and a half, including the hand-done buttons. I have buttons on both sides to close it. That's what they look like there. And then I left a little gap here, and I just inserted some snaps so that it snaps closed. But overall, really good. Obviously, upcycling is great. This only cost me, I think, $4 because I already had the buttons and I already had the snaps, and the curtain itself only cost me $4 at Goodwill. So I will show you guys what that looks like on as well. I'm not sure if it'll be the long or the short version because I haven't filmed it yet, but I will show you guys either way. And that's everything that I've sewn since the middle of July. So that's not too bad. I think that was like, what, 8 or 9 pieces? So, and then the sweater, obviously, that took me about a week and a half. But overall, I think that's pretty good so far for my closet. I definitely have like a color theme going on that I want to kind of work towards. I have all kinds of great fabrics that I've been picking up from my thrift store to make all kinds of other things. I have some really good stuff in the works for you guys. And I hope that you stick around. If you didn't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!